I'm going to try to do two things at once. It always never works out as well as I would like for it to, but I'm going to try to do two things at once and cover this. I've talked about Amazon a lot, only because it's a hot topic and it's something that I find very, very interesting just in general. Like the whole process has been interesting. But, what about Tacoma and the snub that Amazon gives Tacoma? Now, if you're in this area, you will know that Amazon is in Bellevue, which is basically Seattle. I mean, Bellevue is pretty much across the lake, and it's on the east side, and it's a more affluent area. And keep in mind, Redmond is where Microsoft is based and all that. Excuse me. Also, Bellevue's kind of hoity-toity, but they do have a lot of office buildings there. And recently, they've gotten a lot of big companies that have located in Bellevue. They've also lost a few to Seattle as well. But basically, Amazon does have office space over there that they're actually utilizing. And Bellevue has started to attract the attention of other big companies. But when it comes to Tacoma, Amazon's nowhere to be seen. And some people are like, well, that's not right. That's not fair, because the second largest city in the region is Tacoma. Now, you can't go on just population size, obviously. You have to go on available talent, and I get that. But when it comes to costs, Tacoma makes a whole lot of sense because it's cheaper to hire people here. Even when you're looking in the big three, Seattle, Bellevue, and Tacoma, you can pay people less here, and the cost of living in this city is by far cheaper than in Bellevue or in Seattle. So, Amazon is doing what Silicon Valley did, which is stupid. In my opinion. I mean, they have some of the smartest people, but sometimes the smartest people are not necessarily street smart. And what I mean by that is that in Silicon Valley, they put all their eggs in one basket, and then there was a dot-com bust. You had San Jose, which was pretty much leading the pack, and it had a lot of big companies there. I remember back in the day, wanted to work for Sun Microsystems and all these different companies. And, then there's San Francisco. So really, all of those areas is where the IT world is pretty much famous, right? And they could have easily went to other places, such as Seattle, which had Microsoft and stuff. They could have went to those places and got workers for far cheaper and had satellite offices back in the day. But they didn't do that. So what did they do? They stayed in their area and they continued to expand. And it got to the point where people don't want to live there because it's too expensive. And those cities really didn't have the ability to plan around this massive IT expansion. So the quality of life in those places have went down. Well, Seattle, you would think people would learn to spread out a little bit. Like in San Francisco's case, they could have utilized Oakland, for example, which wasn't utilized that much. San Jose was, but Oakland's kind of scary. So they never really invested in Oakland, which they could have, and it would have actually made it a strong super region. They didn't really do that. And then when you look at other parts of California, they could have branched off there. They could have moved up into Oregon, which was even cheaper, and then even have offices up in Seattle back in the day. But they didn't really do that. So now, as a result, a lot of those companies are now in Seattle, which is an expensive market to get into, but it's still cheaper than Silicon Valley. And they're having much more luck up here. And a lot of their workers are living up here. Cheaper houses, better quality of life, considering what you would have to pay for there. And so folks decide to do that. You would think that folks here would do the same thing, create a true super region of having the big three, right? Because in San Francisco, you can have the big three. Oakland, San Jose, and San Francisco. Here, you can have the big three. Seattle, Bellevue, and Tacoma. But Amazon doesn't really want to do that I know of. Now, they may have something that's, down the pipeline, and I have absolutely no clue. But from the onset, it doesn't seem like that's the case because, again, Tacoma is scary. It's one of those places where people like that and companies like that typically kind of turn their nose up to until other smaller companies start to say, here's an opportunity. They don't have the Amazon money or the Amazon effect, so to speak, where a lot of people are looking for you and a lot of people are noticing you. So they come to smaller cities. When you look at Tacoma, there are two things that are going for Tacoma that probably is going to shape the future when it comes to IT. Now, one of which, I've mentioned quite a bit about, which is Infoblock. Infoblock is a IT company out of California, and for some reason, the CEO of the company just absolutely loves Tacoma. And they keep expanding here, and they've, word of mouth has traveled from that company about why they like it here, and it's such a wonderful place, and et cetera, et cetera. So he loves Tacoma, and they have a presence here. So that's a bright, shiny spot for us. It is a company that I think could definitely do a lot of expansion here. It'd be great if they move their headquarters here, and they're able to take advantage of all of the local talent, because there's quite a bit of local talent down here. But keep in mind, there are people who travel up and down this region back and forth for jobs, and they live in different places. So you're still going to have access to all the tech workers up in Seattle, right? So that's one shiny, bright spot. One of the other things that helps the city is the fact that we have a head incentive, meaning that per person that a company hires, and if they pay a certain amount of money, it doesn't matter what industry, the city will give an incentive to that city. Not only does the city of Tacoma do that, but the entire county has different programs that are designed to pay money per employee based on the number of people that you have making over a certain amount of money per year. So that is a major incentive, right? That also sweetens the pot. So we're able to compete a lot better because we have that as in our back pocket. But the second brightest point, which I said there's 2 points. One is Infoblock as a company. The second one is Surge Tacoma. Now, Surge Tacoma is not really an IT company, right? They're kind of like a co-working space type company. But remember, they were awarded by the city to take over the old city hall downtown. Now, that's a pretty tall building, and it's a very unique old historic building. It has a lot of importance in the city. But what they're wanting to do is, obviously, they want to cover some of the stuff that the city wants, right? The city wants to have more restaurants downtown, right? They want to have more people to live downtown. So Surge Tacoma is obliging that. They're putting in 3 restaurants. They're putting in a little bar, I think, also that's separate from that. And then they're going to have micro units in the structure. So they're solving those issues. The bright spot of this is they're designing this facility to be an IT incubator, if you will, right? So their focus is to basically help get IT companies either started or to actually attract them to that building, right? So it kind of creates this live, work, play atmosphere. This is the second brightest point in this. And the reason why this is so important and critical is because Tacoma can never compete with Seattle in terms of splash. Seattle has a lot of splash. When you go there, it's on a whole nother level. And even Bellevue is getting to that point where it's on a whole nother level. But Tacoma doesn't quite have it like that. So we have to work with the parameters that we do have. So I think that eventually Infoblock will continue to expand. First off, let me talk about Surge. I think Surge will fill out this building if they can get the financing going to get everything done. They're going to fill out this building, and I think you're going to see some small companies get created, or either one larger company comes in there and runs with it. I think that'd be great. It's going to start having that building operate and function very well. I think InfoBlock is the bigger part of this, and I think that given the space that's going to be vacated by State Farm downtown and DaVita, that really gives InfoBlock a big opportunity, if they wanted to take over these two office towers, one or the other. But I also think that by these vacancies, it leaves really nice office space available downtown that, along with the incentives and the fact that this is a much more affordable place to work with, I think that a lot of companies could consider Tacoma possibly home, because there's so many things that are starting to line up, and you keep in mind that you have all of that tech talent. Not only you have it here in Tacoma, but it's just 30 miles away in Seattle. It's a huge talent pool that you can pull from. So I think that when you look at this entire parameter and the fact that Tacoma is strategically trying to do certain key things to create a unique atmosphere downtown, I think you're going to start seeing companies in a few years move into Tacoma and basically take advantage of the fact that there's no big hitters here. The only big hitter is InfoBlock. The others are smaller, little mom and pop places that are in IT. But I think eventually you're going to start seeing a lot of bigger tech companies come here. It takes a long time, because with a company, you have to make sure your shareholders and board members and everybody else is kind of on board. If expansion plans make sense, then you have to check and see if the move makes sense in terms of the city. You have to look at all the analytics. It takes a long time for things to happen and to move into place. But I think that in the next few years, especially with Hilltop, there's kind of a difficult situation because it's gentrified, becoming more gentrified. But I think Hilltop is going to be one of those areas that will serve as kind of like our South Lake Union, if you will. I think you're going to see probably a lot of development there. I think you're going to see a lot in Tacoma Dome District as well. These are two key areas other than downtown that are close to downtown, close to a lot of transportation assets that really and truly are so underutilized that I think eventually we're going to get to the point where you're going to start seeing a lot of development here. We'll see. But I think that the whole missing out on Amazon is probably a better thing for Tacoma, to be honest with you. And I think that it gives other companies the opportunity to be close, to feel that Amazon effect, but not necessarily be in that intense competitive market up there. Anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys are having a great day. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.